Hey everyone. So I said I was going to make a steak today, show you how a gentleman makes a steak. So I'm going to show you what I have here. This is a New York strip steak. I've marinated it in some Worcestershire sauce. Also 1 clove of garlic, and you rub it on both sides. Now, before I put it on, I have a grill plate here. I like to use this because it has the lines. You want to make sure this plate is pretty hot, and one way to test is if you do a little bit of what I call the water test. Looks like it's ready. So what we will do is we'll put a little bit of butter on here before we put our steak on there. You don't have to put the steak on for too long. Depending on the size, you know, you can only keep it on there for maybe 3 minutes a side. You don't want to put it on there for too long, you know, depending on the size. If it's a little heavier, you know, it could be like 4 minutes or so. It depends on what you want. Do you want medium well, medium rare? It depends on that. So let's try this. I like that sound. That's what you want to hear. So I'm going to just set my timer here for 3 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to fire this up. It's going to make some onions and mushrooms to put on top of the steak. We're going to put about 2 tablespoons of butter. Nice heaping tablespoons. Just move it around the pan here. I'm going to turn on the fan so it doesn't get too smoky in here. So now we want to add the onions, which I've already pre-chopped. Made my life a little easier. Now I'm using yellow onions. I think the taste is better for this. And I also sliced up the mushrooms, so you want to add those in here. Stir it around while the steak is going, so you don't have to worry about that. You got to stir it up, mix it up pretty good. I think my time's almost up on the steak. Yep, perfect timing. Time to flip it over. You can see the grill marks right here. I don't know if you can see it from where you're at. Nice grill marks. Wait another 3 minutes and then steak is done. Now, I think these are good and ready. So, what you want to do is add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce to it before you pull it off the heat. Not too much though. You've got to stir it up, mix it up pretty good. So I'm going to take it off the heat. Careful, the eye is still hot. I want you guys to see this over here. This is going to go on top of the steak. It's going to be really good. Okay, so I am going to turn the heat off and move my steak away from the eye for the time being. It's going to be good. Now that New York strip steak. That's how you do it. You could add a little bit of butter on top of it after you cook it. Let that melt. And then we could take some of the mushrooms and the onions, sprinkle that on top. So let's take what we got out from inside here. I have a baked potato, sweet potato. So we're going to peel this back, open it up. This is a big one. I'm going to add a little cinnamon and a little more butter. We're not doing healthy tonight. And we got some baked asparagus. They're the skinny kind. That's the finished meal. There is something missing. Can't have a steak without a drink. We're making an old-fashioned, so I got a little bourbon here. And I have these glasses that I pre-chill. First, I'm going to get a little zest from the orange. You know, depending on who does it, you know, you put like orange skin in there. I like to put a little slice of orange in there. Squeeze a little bit of the juice. Let us pour this in there. Now we need some simple syrup. About like 2 teaspoons. And some bitters. But, you know, I like to add a little something else to it. Sometimes like to have a little ginger zested in. Now I take my ginger, I peel it fresh, and then I freeze it so it's much easier to zest. And stir it up. Ice cube. Now I'm ready to have my steak.
Bon appetit.